Castlevania for the Nintendo 64 was the series' first foray into 3D. First promised with 4 playable characters, the game was cut down on release to only 2, with an expanded version titled Legacy of Darkness releasing the same year with much of the deleted content and quality of life features. In line with the direction the series was going at the time, Castlevania 64 features a deeper storyline and more exploration within stages, along with light RPG mechanics, a day and night cycle, and puzzle solving. Speedruns of this game have a long history, often intersecting with attempts to make tool-assisted speedruns off of discoveries. While a few have been made for Legacy of Darkness, none have been fully completed for this version, until now. Hi, I'm Grampaglasses, also known as a random game taster, and today I'll be explaining my task of Castlevania 64. In most situations, jumping continuously is the fastest way to move, with jumps ideally lasting as long as possible to accrue more acceleration. RNG is fairly volatile when multiple enemies are on screen, but can be controlled via weapon attacks, item flash particles, and also just by waiting a certain amount of frames. I take advantage of that here to manipulate 2 power-ups while waiting for the door to the first boss to open. A character's main weapon can be upgraded up to twice and stays that way until a death, and doing so here saves minutes over the course of the run. The giant skeleton has several predetermined locations it needs to run to before becoming vulnerable, based on the player's location. Careful positioning can shorten these wait times. To help cut down on lag, I will often go into first-person mode to reduce the amount that's on screen. I also make sure to unleash Carrie's orb at point-blank range to avoid lag as well. Carrie's orb needs to be charged for maximum damage, which normally takes about 40 frames. However, a small glitch allows a max damage orb to be released about 14 frames after you begin charging if you let go early, which saves a lot of time in every boss fight. There are actually several ways to skip the first boss, which would save about 15 seconds. However, this means the boss views and permanent effects since bosses are programmed to not unload based on camera distance, which would force doing most of Forest of Silence with a very awkward camera setup until the next boss is triggered. For the sake of both convenience and entertainment, the skip was not done. As I said at the top, Castlevania 64 has a day and night system, which controls when certain doors open, the existence of certain events, and the damage you're able to do to enemies. For reasons I'll elaborate on later, this moon card is used immediately to put the game at 6 PM, and the sun card will be used later. I'm carefully manipulating enemy spawns to help mitigate lag. At night, enemies are almost constantly spawning, so it's a tricky game to keep things manageable. The Were-Tiger mini-boss is quickly killed by lowering him to the side, which instantly warps him down into the water below. Going around is slow, so instead I opt to jump down and interact with the switch immediately. You may have noticed the strange jumps I've been doing on the edge of platforms. These are called ledge jumps, or more commonly task jumps, and are done by interrupting a ledge grab by letting go of A right when the grab is supposed to confirm and immediately repressing. This lets you perform a jump out of it without landing, which skips slow climbs up and can be used to gain incredible amounts of speed if platforms are laid out correctly. For choosing which of the 2 characters to play as, the obvious choice for fastest times is Carrie. Compared to Reinhardt, Carrie has a better jump, a main attack for Magic Orb that has a wide range and good damage, and a smaller hitbox allowing for skips only she can do. Most of her exclusive levels are also faster than Reinhardt's with the exception of Tower of Science. Normal mode was chosen due to easy cutting off early without a proper ending. Carrie's alternate outfit, a reference to Maria's outfit, was chosen for slightly reduced lag. 2 skeleton motorcyclists spawn with the boss, which can be deloaded by landing on a specific floor triangle quickly enough. The boss is carefully controlled so that when its legs explode, it is forced off the ledge similar to the were-tiger, which ends the fight early. As a funny bonus, going into first person next to it gives you a huge speed boost as the game tries to force you out of the hitbox. Holy Water is the strongest sub-weapon in the game due to its lingering hitbox. Careful positioning with the boss maximizes its damage while mitigating lag. Right here is the first instance of a seam clip, allowing Carrie to use the collision between 2 walls to clip between them with enough speed in a precise position. This skips climbing the left tower, saving over a minute. The second part of the fight is skipped due to a strange glitch with the dog's hitbox. By jumping over it during its bite animation, you become temporarily invulnerable to the bite. This gives a brief window to use the dog's head as a small platform to jump over the gate. A vampire is supposed to spawn in the foyer, but he can be skipped by precisely moving around the spawn trigger thanks to the railing. This brief pause is because I need to wait until 3 AM for a cutscene with Rosa. This cutscene only plays between 3 AM and 6 AM and spawns Vincent further in the villa, who gives a key necessary to collect the garden key for further progression. This was why the moon card was used at the very start of the run. In RTA, you would normally reach this room right as time hits 3 AM. A task is much faster than that, and so I'm forced to wait about 30 seconds, effectively relegating 6 minutes of the run into being a loose auto-scroller. This is why I went out of my way to collect gem drops for the sub-weapon and reduce lag. While it's possible to reduce lag further in the sections before, I wanted to strike a balance between that and going fast on a stage-by-stage basis. With that out of the way, let's talk to Vincent. A dialogue overlay is exploited with this beautiful vase of painting here, giving access to the key without needing to scroll through his longer dialogue. By positioning Carrie precisely next to doors completely flush with a wall, it's possible to break the scripting of entering a door, letting you manipulate room loads to get out of bounds. This application here saves 8 seconds by cutting out 2 doors and a small cutscene introducing Renan the salesman. Using the gardener's collision when he falls down, it's possible to get pushed through this pillar and hedge with proper positioning, which skips a very long chase sequence with Malice. A precise ledge grab here skips a mini-boss fight, and a careful use of sliding on the waterfall also skips going over to a button to disable it. Note that ledge jumps can't be done on these ledges here due to how close the water is. Another precise jump skips a trek to push 2 buttons, making this one of the shortest levels in the game. Following that, welcome to the longest level in the game, taking a solid third of the run's time. To beat Castle Center, a crystal in the central room has to be activated to power an elevator leading upwards, which requires removing a magic seal from the wall protecting it, and a combination of Nitro and Mandragora to blow it up. Collecting the Mandragora requires a key from the Lizard Man for the torture chamber, and the puzzle protecting the seal in the library requires an additional set of Nitro and Mandragora to access. To make matters worse, when carrying Nitro, you are not allowed to take damage or jump, since that will cause instant death. Add in the various routes through the level along with mini-boss fights, and it leads to an area requiring pretty careful planning to complete. In a speedrun, while it's not fully possible to skip all of these requirements, some can be bypassed while others can be made shorter and more efficient. This room contains lizard men you are meant to defeat, however jumping to the end of the room fast enough despawns them, which opens the door. This doesn't count as completing the fight, so they'll still be here if you come back, making this a one-way trip. Now it's time for early library. If you recall the use of a door glitch in Villa, I mentioned how it could only be done with doors completely flush with the wall. While that is true with the particular method I used there, it is still possible to get the glitch by using object collisions to push Carrie at the right time. The lizard man isn't hostile, but he does have collision, and so it's possible to manipulate him to run into the door by scaring him with an attack. To get to the library, a careful slide jump just barely gets Carrie underneath the floor and lets her ledge grab through it. Doing all this saves about 3 minutes, along with massively simplifying the level's route, but it's easily the hardest skip in the game due to how many things can go wrong. Now with the seal gone, the Nitro and Mandragora must be collected to destroy the wall. Getting out of this room requires another slide clip in the corner to get to the other side. This gap is too small for Reinhardt to fit in, making this entire skip Carrie exclusive. Like with Vincent, a dialogue overlay can be used to skip the lizard man's text boxes while still getting the key. It requires waiting a bit, but it overall saves 8 seconds. As I mentioned before, jumping while carrying Nitro normally results in instant death. Well... By interacting with the Nitro shelf the same frame you land, it's possible to trigger an invulnerability glitch until you enter a loading zone. This lets you replace the Nitro you just lost, and importantly lets you jump with no side effects. This is exploited with more seam clips to get out of the room and skip a long trek around. Loading trigger hit, no more jumping. This cog skip works similar to the seam clips from before, only this time Carrie is forced upwards. This task uses a slightly faster variant of cog skip done by spamming C right to freeze Carrie in place, which is known as movement stalling. The logic of the glitch is sort of complex, but it basically lets you ignore state changes, which gives opportunities for smaller skips. Nitro and Mandragora can't be carried together, so a small backtrack is still needed for the Mandragora. Like the first giant skeleton fight, the bull moves to predetermined locations based on the player's position. I take advantage of this to have its legs be destroyed closer to the door, since I need to leave the room after this. Camilla can crash the game if she never uses her orange attack, since the game will try to unload unreferenced objects otherwise. After her opening attack and that, I stay close to her while avoiding the orbs to cheese the fight. Now, normally there wouldn't be a choice on which levels to do next, since the bridge leading to Carrie's levels and Reinhardt's levels are character dependent. While Tower of Execution is about even to Tower of Sorcery, Reinhardt's Duel Tower is almost 2 minutes faster to do compared to Carrie's Tower of Science. To that end, it becomes worth it to break into Reinhardt's levels with Carrie by exploiting a glitch with the slide. After sending the elevator back down so it can get on its roof when it comes up, I precisely jump on the edge of the roof in such a way that Carrie is forced to slide into place. This causes her velocity to build up before she eventually breaks out. Once landing, there's a few frames where part of the stored momentum can be transferred into a jump, which is just barely enough to cross the gap and enter Duel Tower. A fall down onto that platform is worth it since it skips one of the fights. Those ledge jumps right at the end there are a good example of how fast you can go with the right geometry, which is perfect foreshadowing for Tower of Execution, which is almost entirely ledge jumps. Also, yes, this level lags this much on console too. A small wait here is necessary for a platform cycle. Room of Clocks is meant to funnel you into the Actress fight before the door to Clock Tower will open and subsequently lead to the final bosses. However, that fight can be skipped with a precise clip and careful out-of-bounds movement. The Castle Keep stairs have invisible collision on the seams which can stop your forward movement, so there's some slight drifting on my lines here to avoid them. Dracula will always teleport after taking a hit, and control by doing a double teleport if you're unlucky. This was carefully manipulated to not happen. Final Dracula is relatively simple to take care of with more point-blank orbs. To end input earlier, I finally used my last two Holy Waters, which takes him out just as Carrie gets thrown back. This completes the game with a time of 30 minutes and 14 seconds from power on to last input. If we use RTA timing upon selecting a character, this comes out to 30 minutes and 2.5 seconds, just barely short of the 30-minute barrier. There are a few minor mistakes, along with routing issues, which didn't become clear until the run was almost finished. The most obvious of these would be fighting Dracula at midnight, which halves Carrie's damage and causes some time loss. A minor detour could be taken for an additional sum card earlier in the run. While on the topic of improvements, let's discuss other things that are both currently possible and possible theoretically. Skipping the first skeleton boss would save 15 seconds as mentioned before. It's possible with another door glitch to skip the Camilla boss, which would save 10 seconds, but the method to do so requires a skeleton lure that currently is not feasible even with tasks to do quickly. The wait for Rosa costs over 30 seconds, so being able to get either the garden key early or simply entering the garden early would automatically save that and free up the early parts of the run to be optimized further. Frustratingly, this exact thing is possible on the PAL version of the game by clipping into a nearby pillar, but that version patched a few major glitches that makes it slower overall, the biggest being early library. This one seems very close to happening on NTSC at 1.0, but so far has not borne fruit. Another close one is Clock Tower skip, done by jumping into the void during the Actrice Death boss fight and getting warped up to Castle Keep by a Renon cutscene. While this does theoretically work, the problem is the height you enter the trigger is too low normally, and so there isn't enough geometry to reach Dracula. The skip does work, however, if you spend over 30,000 gold to trigger the Renon boss fight, but to get that amount of gold and still save time is fairly unlikely. One last idea is getting into the Castle Center elevator loading zone early. This would save 8 minutes and put the game in the sub 20 minute range, but there's unfortunately no known way to both clip and have enough height to reach the loading zone. The potential of the skip has been partially realized in Legacy of Darkness, with differences in collision handling, allowing a clip on the bottom floor to activate the crystal without any prerequisites, which saves 14 minutes in that run for carry. Ultimately, while this task closes one chapter of this game's story, I hope it can be a springboard for new developments in the future. Shoutouts to the Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness Discord for their help with research for this task and video, and thank you very much for watching. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. Until next time.